Shalom, Yashar, this is your brother Dawada from GMS Tampa Bay 07, coming at you with another video. First and foremost, I want to say all praise to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone that rule well, and salutations to you brothers pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth. I don't want to get into this quick lesson because I was thinking about this, and I just did a video not too long ago about and basically time being shortened. And more or less with time we in, and things getting worse and worse and worse. Things are starting to wax worse and worse and worse over, so I was reading and came across this, and you know what I'm saying. This is again something that we all hear about, we all know about, but this is something to put in perspective, especially for you new brothers coming into this, or people who might be on the fence, or people who might see this and that aren't quite sure. The men of the Lord, we sure about exactly what Salakia for my language. We sure what time we in, We sure because we can see everything around us, But I wanted to jump into these two scriptures real quick, and try to pull out this here light, bring further edification to exactly what time we in, So we're gonna just jump into Matthew 24. We read this all the time. This is Matthew 24. I'm gonna start at verse 3. And he sat upon the Mount of Olives. The disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? So they're asking about the end of the world, And we know that the earth is going to abide forever, so the planet is not going anywhere, And the end of the world, which they're talking about, is what they're talking about here is the end of a rulership, the end of this society, Like you could think back to when the Egyptians ruled. And when the Egyptians and their dynasties fell, and then it was more or less like the Babylonians, then the Medo-Persians, and then from there you had like the so-called Grecians, and then the Romans. You had the Edomite rule, more or less to say. But prior to all of that, you had the world end each time. You had the world end when the Egyptians ruled. It was no more the Egyptian rule. Everybody in the whole known world at that point in time was, not to say worshiping, but they was following after the things that the Egyptians did, The Egyptians was that world power. Then you go over to, like I said, the Babylonians, Medo-Persians, the Grecians, the Romans, and so on and so forth, And right now we at a point in time where we under Esau's rule, and as you see in the Middle East, the one thing he wants to do, and all over the globe, is spread his so-called democracy. Okay, so when you look at it like that, and who's ruling the earth and setting up everything in their ways and in their image, this is a better understanding to understand what they mean by the end of the world. When you no longer see so-called democracy and freedom being pushed upon the whole earth, And if you fall into a stumbling block about democracy and freedom being pushed, if you think that sounds like something bad to say, like, what you mean you don't want democracy and freedom being pushed? If that's a stumbling block onto you, you might want to turn this video off and just fucking, I don't care what you go do, because if you're too blind to see that wherever they spread they democracy and freedom, Slovakia, give me 1 second. Hang tight, Akia. Adjusted. Oh man. Yeah. Slovakia. Let me just get this one real quick because alright, I'll forget that precept. I can't get it right now, but I'm gonna get this other one. It pretty much says the same thing. Where's it at? I think it's right here. Boom. Oh, never mind. That's the precept I was looking for anyway. All right, this is Psalms 55. I'm gonna start at verse 20. Okay, he put forth his hand against such as be at peace with him. He has broken his covenant. Okay, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords. Okay, and that's the true definition according to the Bible of freedom, peace, and democracy. You know, well, not really peace, because they actually tell you what peace is in the Bible, and peace in the Bible is basically the rulership in the kingdom of heaven. Everybody else in subjection. But this is basically the definition of democracy and freedom right here. It says he put forth his hands against such that be at peace with him. Okay, we want freedom for everybody, democracy for everybody. Everywhere they go, they spread, and then you see what happens over there, right? What happened over in Iraq? They went over there to so-called liberate those people from a evil dictator regime, and spread peace and democracy over there. Peace, democracy, and freedom. And what did they get? It says he put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He has broken his covenant. Okay, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter. Hey, we just want to liberate you people from this dictatorship, and set you people free and bring you democracy. His words were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, but yet they were drawn swords. Yeah, we coming over here to eradicate your country, like Syria, from ISIS. Well, if you're trying to get rid of fucking ISIS in Syria, why don't you just let the Syrians take care of them? Nah, they can't do it. We got to do it. Why you got to travel all the way across the globe to get some roaches out of another person's house when you could be taking care of roaches in your house? You know what I'm saying? Like, let me flip it to you in another way. We here in America, you got goddamn, what is that, Antifa? You got the Black Lives Matter and all these other protest groups, right? You had Occupy Wall Street. You had all these big mass protests, right? What would you think of if fucking China, Russia, North Korea, all these people was just like, you know what? We got to go over there and liberate those people in America, because you got these basically terrorists walking around vandalizing every damn thing, wanting to, put people to death and behead people and stuff like that. What happens if you see Russian planes and Russian tanks and Chinese planes and stuff like that just roll up over here and start blowing shit up? And now we got to liberate the people. America would be furious. You Americans would be furious. How much more of the same shit over there? You got, and that's even different, because we the ones sending Al Qaeda, not Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda's fake too, but they was armed back in the day, and Hillary Clinton will tell you about that, how they armed Al Qaeda to fight against it with a proxy war against, I believe, the Russians in Afghanistan back in the day. The same way what they doing now. They fighting a proxy war. They fighting the Syrian army, the Syrian regime with ISIS, basically, And it's like, okay, we're going to go over here and stage our own ISIS troops at this post right here. Right next to this building we want to blow up. Then we're going to send a plane over there to so-called blow up the ISIS member, miss the ISIS member, and blow up the fucking hospital. That's how they get down. When you look at the numbers over there, it's pretty much like they didn't killed, not pretty much, they didn't killed more, murdered more, displaced more, and people getting more sick and disease like a cholera and stuff like that. More of those people being affected, and these are civilians, than actual ISIS members being killed or even being harmed or endangered. Anything wrong with them. I think I'm not quite sure what the numbers are now, but the last time I checked, it was like maybe something like, on the low end, I'll say 5,000. On the high end, about 12,000 so-called Islamic soldiers or ISIS soldiers that was killed in this whole, I don't know, it's been 3 years, 5 years? About 3 years, I think, since they've been fighting over in Syria, like heavily, actively, right? So, you only got about, let's say, take the high number, 12,000, 12,000 killed. You know how many civilians didn't die? I think it's like somewhere around a couple 100,000 of them, and if not a million. These are only the documented numbers that America wants to release, And they're the ones that's over there blowing them up. But then also, you got millions of people being displaced, running as refugees and stuff like that, So again, this is basically America spreading that damn democracy every damn word. But nevertheless, getting back into this here lesson, it says back in Matthew chapter 24, it says, "Tell us when these things shall be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world. And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise and deceive many. And because the iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Okay, and the end of that off it says, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Okay, but let me read this last one here. It says, verse 14, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached unto all the world for a witness unto all nations, then shall the end come. Okay, so I'm gonna just break down verse 14 real quick. That's what these videos are right now. They're going out across the whole four corners of the earth, you know. If you want to believe it's that Christianity, well, shit, that shit's been spread around the whole globe since, I can say since, like, what, 1492 to be on the safe side, a little bit after that, you know. Because this side of the globe, you know what I'm saying, didn't quite know about it shit. But on the other side of the globe, they had already took over and brainwashed everybody with that shit over there already, you know. Then they came over here and brought the slaves over here. You know, the children of Israel over here and enslaved them, you know, and so they preached it further on to that. You know, this was basically the last place to get that Christianity. So basically at that point in time, the whole world had been preached it. Why ain't nothing happened since then, you know? But nowadays you're starting to see, you know, people are waking up to who they are, and these videos are going out all over the whole globe. And as you see all these things we just read, kingdom against kingdom, nation against nation, pestilence, famines, earthquakes, all these things are starting to happen. Back to back to back to back to back to back to back. You're going to be hated for my name's sake. This is why things are getting hard and rough for you right now, because you out here pushing out this word. You know, this word is being pushed out, you know, on the four corners of the earth. Not only do Esau don't like this, but that spirit that's inside of Esau is like, yo, nah, woe unto the inhabitants of the earth, you know, for the devil's coming out with great wrath, because he know if he has but a short time, you know. He's starting to see us wake up and go on these four corners of the earth, so he know, oh shit, that's a sign. You know, just like Yahushua is telling us here about nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom type of deal. If they had a book on their side, you know, and they was like, well, when is the end gonna come? Well, the end gonna come when you start seeing, you know, the real Israelites wake up and start preaching on the highways and the byways, you know. That's what would be said on their side, you know. But nevertheless, we was getting into that to talk about, you know, the end times, you know, and what was going on, just to understand where we at. As you look at on the news, you got wars and man, like I said, you got Saudi Arabia popping off, you know, and that's a big shocker to me. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was pretty much like America over in the Middle East. You know, we got a big landmass over there, and we can dominate and control all kind of stuff from over there. Now it seems like America's losing their grip over there with them. You know, now they using language talking about actually targeting Iran as an actual problem. You know, and this might sound funny to some people, but, you know, all the problems that was going on with Iran beforehand was nothing more than they was just basically building up their how do you want to say, their nuclear program, more or less to say, you know. When on what they was claiming is they was using it for energy, but, you know, other people was scouting out, oh no, they're gonna blow us off the face of the earth, you know, they're gonna blow us off the map, this and that, you know. And then, you know, that died down a couple years ago. That was back when Ahmadinejad was the prime minister over there. But nevertheless, you know, now is a little different time. But now the actual rhetoric coming out is, shit, Iran, you know, they were trying to take the spoils of the war in Syria and take those land masses. They trying to take Iraq. You know, they over here sponsoring terrorists. They had a proxy war right now, and they sponsoring terrorists, you know. And our biggest threat right now is the security. I can't think of the exact wording that they use, but they use this exact same wording in Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan. You know, right before they invaded them. When I heard this, I was like, damn, I didn't heard this shit before. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, they use this same pretext. You know what I'm saying? And they have a little threat. You know, like how they say, you're not gonna get it until you see your Christian neighbor's head get beheaded, and they're out there yelling Allah Akbar or whatever the fuck they be saying. This is just that witchcraft to get you into your emotions. To be like, anybody be like, you know what? You right. I don't want that shit to happen. But you think in your regular mind, have you ever seen a motherfucker do some shit like that around you? You know what I'm saying? I have to ask people this all the time. The motherfuckers would be always tripping about terrorists. It's like, look, motherfucker, when the last time you known anybody to get blown the fuck up by a goddamn terrorist bomb? I'm gonna wait for you. You know what I'm saying? You ain't never heard no shit like that. You ain't never heard nobody around you getting their goddamn head, getting beheaded over here, right? But at the same time, you hear about families getting their lights cut off because it's too much in poverty to sit there and pay their light bills, you know what I'm saying? And don't nobody give a fuck about them, so they gotta sit there in the cold and no electricity. You hear about people here getting evicted because of they was given a bad fucking loan, a fucked up ass loan. And don't say, oh, these people being irresponsible. The motherfuckers who gave them the loans was being irresponsible. That's why we had this goddamn this stock market crash back in 2008. You know what I'm saying? Like all this crazy shit going on, man. It's just vexing. But we're gonna just jump back into this lesson before we just go too far off. But anyway, I wanted to read this here in Second Ezra about the end of the world. But make sure I finish this off here. Yeah, I'm gonna read this in Second Ezra real quick. Second Ezra chapter 6. Now, Second Ezra is in the book the Apocrypha, and for edification's sake, if you can get you a 1611 Bible, from the year 1611, it will have in there from cover to cover, you'll have the Old Testament, the Apocrypha, and then the New Testament. So, if you knew coming into this, you don't quite know about this, and you see brothers walking around with a Bible, you might see a brother with a Bible, and then inside his Bible, we might have an Apocrypha. You might see brothers reading like this. He's like, what's going on there? They acting like they're reading out the Bible, but they reading out another book. This actually was taken out of the Bible from these Edomites. And the reason it was taken out was because it clearly tells them, who they are, and it gives a lot of history and stuff like that. And if you was to read this, then you would definitely know. You would definitely know what was going on. Yeah, see here it's talking about Cyrus the king, Artaxerxes, and Darius and stuff like that. And that was the family Artaxerxes and stuff like that. That was from the lineage of that was Esther's husband, and this is, I want to say it's either him or his son that was Xerxes in the movie 300 that you done watched. I was gonna read. Oh, where the hell am I? What was I doing? It's over here. This is one of the reasons why this was taken out. I wanted to read this real quick. This is the first book of Maccabees, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persians and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. Okay, go to Google and type in these names. Philip the Macedonian. Okay, Macedonia is still a real place. It's still on the map today. Look up Philip the Macedonian, then look up his son Alexander. Or what they call, he was the first to reign over as the king of Greece. Look up who the first king of Greece was. And look up Darius, the king of the Persians and the Medes. Look these people up. And people would think, oh, these are fairy tales, these are stories. No, these people was documenting stuff that was going on around them at the point in time. You call this guy Alexander the Great or Alexander the Greek or whatever, but he wasn't Greek at all. He was from Macedonia. He was the first to reign over he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. So for these reasons, this book here was taken out of the Bible, because if you was to read this, you would already know that this ain't no fairy tale story. Like, wait a minute, hold up, what's going on here? And this would tell you how you got to certain places. You could link that scripture there up. If Alexander the Greek, who was an Edomite, reigned first over Greece, and in Joel chapter 3 they tell you that you have sold the sons of Judah unto the Grecians. Okay, and then you read in Deuteronomy 68 and 28 about how, or Deuteronomy 28 and 68, Slakia, about how the children of Israel was going to come over here by ships. He was going to be sold into your enemies. That's a straight history lesson of transatlantic slave trade and the descendants and the people who they are. Nothing's really a secret no more. It's why in the scriptures, like my brother Abadia came out with a video that says, "Blessed is he that read it," and with all that get understanding, you know. But nevertheless, let me get back on topic here. I want to read this here in Second Ezra. This is Second Ezra chapter 6. I'm gonna start at verse 7. Then answered I and said, What shall be the pardon asunder of times? Or when shall the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? Okay. So basically here, Ezra is asking the same question that the disciples asked Yahweh Shah when he was on the scene. When the end of the world is going to come, you know? But again, he actually used a better phrase here instead of saying when the end of the world is going to come. But he said, what shall be the parting asunder of times? What's going to be the dividing the times here? Or when shall the end of the first, the beginning of that follow? Okay? So like I broke down earlier, the planet ain't going to go nowhere. The earth is going to abide forever. But the rulership and the kingdoms that's going on, these societies that's going on, they're going to wind up switching hands. Like I said, you're not going to have this democracy and shit going on, being spread around the whole earth. You're going to have a whole new system coming up. And that system is going to be the Levitical system. You know, the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. That's the new system you're going to be under. So if you're wondering if it's going to be a democracy, a communist nation, it's going to be a Levitical nation. That's just what the fuck we're going to have. But it says verse 8. Then he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, okay, when Jacob and Esau were born of him. Okay, so this is the beginning of the time. Okay, they measuring when is the beginning of. You look at a timer, right? You have a timer. When does that timer start? This is when the timer start, and then we're going to tell you when it's going to end. It says, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him. Okay, the main characters of the whole deal. These are the people you need to be watching. Jacob and Esau. The whole earth is revolving around them. When Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. Okay. This is Genesis chapter 25 and verse, I'm going to start at 23. Okay, this is talking about the birth of Jacob and Esau. And Yahweh said unto her, now she was, let me read 22. And the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. Okay? And it says, let me skip down. When it first came out, red all over like a hairy garment, they called his name Esau. So that was the first one that came out. And, verse 26. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. Okay? So getting back over here to 2nd Ezra 6 and verse 8 again, it says, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of that followeth. Okay? So like he said here, when is the pardon asunder of times, or when shall be the end of the first? The first what? And that followeth. The first half of rulership and then the other half of rulership. And you can look at it this way. When all the heathens had their time to reign and be kings on this earth and all that kind of stuff going on, then the pardon of the asunder, and then on the other side of that is the kingdom of Israel, an everlasting kingdom. Never again is these other people going to ever rise up again to be over top of anybody. They're going to all just be beneath, Israel. So it says, let me jump down to... Yeah. It says, verse 18, and it said, behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisitions of them what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and when the afflicted of Zion shall be fulfilled, the affliction of Zion shall be fulfilled. And when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. The book shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. And that's basically what you're starting to see happen now. This society is starting to slowly fall apart. You know, and as this society is starting to fall apart, why is it even falling apart? Because we starting to get raised up and starting to get this understanding. The book is being opened, and we starting to grow back. Oh shit! Wait a minute, we got a heathen over us. Esau, you need to get back in your rightful goddamn spot on them goddamn hands and knees and on the fucking on your belly. Like, nah, we how the fuck do we start listening to this fucking base ass heathen? You know, that's why the whole world fucked up because of this. When like let me read that again. It says and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished. So is all this starting to fall apart, you know? All of the shit Esau got going on, he had the whole world in subjection. Now everybody's starting to stand up against his ass. You got people over in the middle in Israel, in the Middle East, crying for the real children of Israel to come back to the Middle East, come back to the land of Israel. Their whole world's starting to fall apart, you know? Yeah, I mean, you could read this whole thing down, but you know we already run over time. But I'm gonna just read a couple more of these scriptures real quick, talking about the end of times. And suddenly shall, hang on, yeah, and verse 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Again, everything that you had built up, man, you got to go back and recheck. Thought America was the greatest nation on the face of the earth. Why is all that infrastructure falling? Everything we had set up, everything they had set up over here is starting to crumble and fall down. All the nations you had in subjection starting to stand up. All your fake ass puppet dictators you got over in the rest of the globe, it's problems over there now. You know what I'm saying? Like you had everything under control in your mind. Now everything is getting all rocky and stable. You had the children of Israel sleep in a deep sleep. You know? Now we starting to wake up and we no longer listening to your bullshit. Verse 23. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. Okay? And that trumpet that's being, you know, that's giving that sound, you know what I'm saying? More or less is the men of the Lord, you know. I don't know how it's in the byways, you know. These people might walk by and be scoffing and stuff like that, or might not say nothing, but when they get home and in the back of their mind, they're like, what the fuck is going on? They have never in their life have ever seen people on the highways and the byways, on the corners of the streets, holding Bibles, cussing them out, telling them they're going into slavery. These are the same people who go to their so-called little Methodist, Baptist, all these other little churches and sing their little hymns and all this stuff. And they're like, wait a minute, they got the same book doing all this? They starting to see this happen. It says, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. Okay, just like we read in well, we didn't read it now, but in Ezekiel, you know, grab that precept real quick. Too far in Ezekiel. Let me just get straight to the point. Yeah, you can read all of this all the way through, but this is Ezekiel chapter 3, starting at verse 17. Son of man, I have made thee a watchman upon the house of Israel. Therefore hear the word at my mouth, and give them warning from me. That's that trumpet being blown, okay? When I shall say to the wicked, thou shalt surely die, thou shalt givest, and thou givest him not a warning, nor speakest to warn the wicked from their wicked ways to save his life, the same wicked shall die in his iniquity. Okay? And we're not going to get into that right quick, but I can get another precept where it's like, blow ye the trumpet in Zion. But nevertheless, it says, I've made you a watchman. That's that trumpet that they're talking about, you know? That's why we go on the highways and the byways, on the corners of the streets. First and foremost, to let Israel know who they are. You know, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you the real children of Israel, the children that the Bible speak about, you know. Also, we letting these other nations know who they are. We letting the Africans know that they Hamites, and that they gonna goddamn go into slavery too. The Moabites to the Chinese, the Ammonites to the Japanese, and moreover, overall, Esau is the so-called white man is Esau, Edom in the Bible, the goddamn devil, the nigga who was created to go into slavery and be destroyed after 1,000 years. Well, this nigga gonna get burnt up. You know what I'm saying? So, nevertheless, that's that trumpet that they talking about. It says, verse 23, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. And at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Okay? Last verse. Whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape and see my salvation and the end of your world. Okay? And I can keep reading, but you know what I'm saying, for time's sake, you should just read that all the way through, you know. But you know, just to get on to what time we in, you know, and how do I say the importance of just looking around you and not accepting, but realizing exactly like, yo, man, we about to see the Lord return. Like, we definitely finna see the Lord return in our lifetime. Fuck your lifetime. You finna see the Lord return. I mean, I'm just speaking carnally as a man, but if I was to say, based off of my judgment, like, yeah, I don't know if we got 5 years before you're gonna see the Lord. Or at least 5 years before you know for a fact that the Lord is coming around the corner. I mean, hell, the men of the Lord already know we're in a time like that right now. You know, but more or less to say, like, you know, we pretty much at that time, you know, and if you can't see that Esau is the end of the world, like scriptures say Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is that followeth. Slack yeah. Oh, shit. Right. Here it says, Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the face of the judges thereof. If not, who and where is he? We're going to just jump into the top. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. If you can't line these scriptures here up, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Okay, who ruling the earth? Okay, so-called white people, the Edomites. Are they the wicked? You know, look at the shit that they doing. Polluting the water, the air, all kind of crazy shit. Yeah, they the wicked. Like how we read over here, it's talking about Esau. Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is that followeth, you know? Do you see Esau, his society starting to crumble, and his cloud around the world starting to lose and cloud around the world, you know? Now you